What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm going to be talking about how, at its core, the board game industry is often a wasteful cash grab. Alright, now first things first, let's establish the foundation of the board game industry. The thing, when it comes to what we're covering, I'm not talking about Monopoly here, okay? I'm talking about stuff like Magic the Gathering, like Warhammer 40k. Those are the foundation. Pick a friend in a local gaming store, 9 times out of 10, actually probably better odds than that. Almost all of the time, without Magic the Gathering or without Warhammer 40,000, those companies would not exist. They would not be able to sustain off just plain board game sales. Plain board game sales, meaning stuff like the other stuff you enjoy, like all the stuff back there, like all of that. It's based off that foundation, that rock solid foundation of it just brings in more people. It brings in more money. Okay. So with that, let's talk about those two. If they are the foundation of the board game industry as we see it, as we kind of us hobbyists see it, you find that a lot of it follows a lot of video game logic in that, more recent video game logic. So it makes you want to always play. Back in the day, with, let's say, video games, or even maybe movies and series of that, think Marvel, stuff like that, you had essentially a product, and then you eventually built on that product to maybe make something else, an expansion, a sequel, something like that, right? But there was this kind of big shift between you do that, you consume that product, and then you might stop, and then you might pick it back up when you get the other one. Now, if you come to now today, whether it's movies, whether it's just entertainment in general, whether it's video games, they have stuff like daily logins. They have stuff where like every single day there's something new for you. And that's because there are really 3 key ways to get you to keep playing or get you to keep consuming or being a consumer and buying things. You can do content, so lots and lots of content. You can do FOMO. So in other words, you'll miss out if you don't get this. It's limited time. It's here right now. You got to get it. That sort of stuff. Or meta changes. So when it comes to, let's say, Magic the Gathering, let's start with Magic the Gathering. Here is Magic the Gathering. You can see their website here. I'm not going to link to it down below. You guys just search Magic the Gathering. It's right there. Magic the Gathering is a genius. Not only is their product sold based off of random draw booster packs. Okay, so already genius. So smart. No wonder they get so much money. But not only is it that, not only does it kind of prey on that almost gambling-esque kind of thing, right? But the only supported format that they really have is one that only supports the last few releases they've done, so that you constantly have to buy more because they invalidate the other one. That's a changing meta. So not only do they have tons and tons and tons and tons of content drops constantly, constant content drops, always more, but they also have stuff like promos. You can win certain cards and stuff like that and prizes when it comes to competing and that sort of stuff, or a limited time sale on this drop or this series or whatever. But then they also have the changing meta where whatever is good or popular or new is constantly changing, right? Video games do this all the time with daily logins. They do it with seasons, right? They do it with their like always online leaderboards. They do it with constant DLC and microtransactions. They do it with different patches to nerf things that are popular and buff things that aren't, just so you're getting new things. And that's exactly what Warhammer does. Again, people who have been playing Magic the Gathering for years, or Warhammer 40,000 for years. And I'm going to get to other board games, so just hold on here. They do that, and the reason they can survive years is because every few years there's another edition. Every few months they'll release another codex and the new thing will be popular. Or, hey, right now the meta is this unit, and so everybody's buying that unit, and Games Workshop sells out of that unit because everybody's buying it. Well, now time to change it, make the points higher, nerf it, make it not as good, clarify some rules, change something there, release something different that affects that, and now that's the new hotness. So then everybody buys and consumes that, and then they'll nerf that, and then everybody buys and consumes that. Now this army sucks. Now this army is great. Again, look, MMOs, for instance, have done this for forever. World of Warcraft does this all the time. Any always online multiplayer game that wants you to play all the time has this kind of stuff where, oh man, it's really good to be this character or this build or use this ability or use this item. So you go and you do and you spend all your time doing that, all your money getting there, and then they'll change it. And then you have to go chase this and you have to go chase that. FOMO, constant releases, changing meta. Those are the 3 ways that the entertainment industry gets you to keep consuming, so you keep pumping money into it. That's what they do. That's the new way of doing things. It's been done kind of less overtly before, but now, like I said, with like daily logins and all the little micro things you can buy, this is the way to do it. And I hate to break it to you, but board games, especially the popular ones, especially the big ones. I'm not talking you indies. You indies are rocking at making cool stuff. But a lot of the big names do this where they are focused on getting you to constantly be playing, constantly want their stuff, and constantly give them money, right? Whether it's Magic the Gathering, whether it's Warhammer, or even take something like Descent, 2nd edition. I'm very familiar with this. This was my introduction to board gaming. It was the first board game I ever bought, the real board game. I had Clue and Monopoly and, stuff like that. And one of the things they do is they have these lieutenant miniatures. You see, when you bought 2nd edition, you got miniatures for everything except, there's one exception. You got your heroes, you got your monsters. You need some spiders, they'll give you spider minis, no problem. But if there's a big named lieutenant character, this actual bad guy you want to fight, nope, you get a little token with some art on it. So you're just attacking there. And they do that because they know you want that one. Because guess what you wouldn't always go buy? You wouldn't always go buy a pack of spiders. You'd be like, fine, I'm attacking cave spiders or a token, whatever. But if they take the lieutenant out of the deal and sell that to you separately, then you get that. And as you can see, there was a lot. So not only did they constantly have monster and hero collections, constantly have expansions and constant content, right? They didn't really do too much of the FOMO stuff, but what they did do was they had the microtransaction deals. This is no different than a fighting game, a video game nowadays that sells you every costume pack and every character and all these different weapon loadouts and all this other junk. That's what that is. That's what that is. It's purposely taking things out to piecemeal it out as additional sales. So you'll spend $10 on each miniature instead of just including it in there and increasing the MSRP by only a little bit because you're producing for everybody. And that's just how business and money works. So they were able to make more money and keep you invested and keep you buying, keep you putting money into their wallets by doing it that way. And they do it on purpose. In fact, Fantasy Flight Games is fantastic for this. And other companies do this, of course, too. But for a long time, it was very well known that Fantasy Flight Games pretty much just shotgunned out a game, ideally with IP. We'll talk about IP in a little bit. And then once people got feedback and they're like, oh, hey, Star Wars Rebellion's really cool, but you know what sucks? The combat. Don't worry. They'll sell you an expansion like Rise of the Empire that people say are required to play Star Wars Rebellion because it fixes what is not good in the previous one. That is, they'll sell you the fix. They'll make it to where they can monetize the fix. And you see that all the time on Kickstarter and stuff like that. Well, they'll have, oh, hey, it really sucks that our books are separated all over here. So now just buy the combined book and now it's all fixed. You beta tested it because apparently they couldn't find that out during normal play testing, if that was a thing. But don't worry, now that you told them, here's a solution, please buy it, right? You get that all the time. Could they release that PDF? Sure, but no, you gotta buy it, right? Stuff like that happens all the time. They release something, it's a very obvious mistake, or they didn't play test it, or it wasn't balanced, or whatever. They sell you the solution. They did it also with Fallout, the board game. Again, another IP. We'll talk about IP in a moment. You know what really sucks? Fallout the board game. It's a competitive game that is completely unbalanced and lackluster in both content and actual balance, really good, tight control on the gameplay. But don't worry, because you can buy the New California expansion and it fixes everything because now it's competitive. So again, something that probably would have been competitive, should have been competitive, solves a lot of issues. No, you got to actually buy the solution. Please send us this money, and then you can now have the game as it should be, with some very basic playtesting and conversation and, reviews. So they do that all the time. They pump out content. I told you this. Here's Imperial Assault, Colony Descent. And again, they will have all sorts of these same things so that you're not, look at all this. This is World of Warcraft patch notes, right? This is, look at everything, all the content we're shoving at you. Buy this, buy that, buy this, fix that. You want this, you want that. They were very smart to separate a whole lot of different characters and make it to where, oh, you can buy the Twin Shadows that has Boba Fett on the actual game box, but it won't include Boba Fett. You want Boba Fett? That's actually the separate purchase over here, right? They do that all the time because they knew this has enough content to do it, but they can get you to buy Boba Fett separate if they release him separate. separate. So genius. Just do that because everybody wants Boba Fett. It's all manipulative FOMO. It's all manipulative marketing and content release to get you to keep playing. It's what the big boys do. It's what Magic does. It's what Warhammer does. And the board game industry tends to follow. Again, I'm not talking about all of the exceptions, which there are plenty. Feel free to list them in the comments below if you feel so inclined. But let's go ahead and talk about promos because, again, that's so heavy. I love DC deck building game. Again, not these games just because they are made by a company that makes decisions like this or follow this practice doesn't mean that game is bad. I love Star Wars Rebellion. I love DC deck building game. But my goodness, look at all these promos they do. Come here to Gen Con and get this version. Now, they've actually found that they can actually sell these at a premium. So you're spending like $5 a card to be able to get it, which people will pay for because it's a promo. It's exclusive. Like I said, you can win some at Magic the Gathering events and stuff like that. There's always these special alternate, cards when it comes to the art or chase items of some kind or another or highly desired things that are limited quantity just to get you to buy it. Kingdom Death Monster, famously, he could accept pre-orders. Adam Poots could order a pre-order thing and then just make however many he needs and send them out. But no, artificial scarcity. We got to actually print this much and then get it while you can and buy it real quick and then buy it expensive on the secondhand market. It's all there to create fake buzz and fake desire for a product that seems to not have enough supply to meet it, even though it's purposeful, right? All of this kind of stuff happens all the time. If we look at miniature market and the new releases, what you're going to see is a ton of IP. Right off the bat, you see The Witcher and Dragon Ball Z, or Stranger Things, or Vampire the Masquerade. There's Witcher again over here. Or we'll get a Cthulhu, of course. We'll have a lot of that. We'll have Lord of the Rings, right? And this is literally, I didn't even try to make this. I just did new releases, and now here's Aliens, right? You'll get this constantly, all the time. There's so many of these. Marvel. Gotta have Marvel stuff. Because you know what makes Dice Masters sell better? Marvel makes Dice Masters sell better. That's how it works. All sorts of IP because they're just putting that there to sell more because they know you want it. They know that you're more likely to pay for it if you already associate it with something that you enjoy, like the IP. That's why it's there. And then, of course, they come out with brand new ways for you to spend more money. For instance, Destructive Legacy. Now, you might like this, you might not. Just depends on which side you pull on. But it's very, very convenient to make a physical product that actively destroys itself so you can never get it again unless you buy it again. And I have read many, literally dozens of forum posts and comments about people buying multiple copies because they want to play one with their family, one with their campaign group, or because they want to experience it again so they buy another one. Now, we can break down the cost of entertainment and it costs less to do this versus that or whatever. But we also know the potential. Game designers are really, really smart. They are. Board game designers know how to do things. For decades, years, hundreds of years, they've been thinking of ways to simulate things, to deal with probability, to deal with randomness, to get this desired outcome or this gameplay and all that kind of stuff. They are very good at it. So I promise you that there's a way to make it non-destructive. It's done purposefully. They'll have you even do stuff like lottery ticket scratch off. This is actually a very cool campaign. I'm not taking any digs against that, but the mechanic of purposely scratching off this so that you can only do it once, that permanence, that destructive nature where afterwards you can never play that game again. All of the physical components, all the plastic, all the cardboard, all the ink, all of that is now wasted, and it's a permanent just shelf clutter or dust collector or landfill prone piece of thing that you can never pass on to your kids, can never play again a decade later or 2 decades later. All that's gone. This kind of destructive thing is genius from a business perspective. So smart. Can you imagine if you bought a car and actively as you drove it, it just started damaging itself and that was purposely designed to destroy itself so that eventually you had to go buy a new one or just not have a car? Or a fridge or an AC unit or a house or anything else that you bought where it was purposely made to do that. It actually is famously done with light bulbs. They can make light bulbs last forever. They purposely make them fail over time. Purposely overcharge them to burn it out. You can literally make a light bulb last forever. There are some still to this day, some like firehouses and stuff like that have been around for hundreds of years. But no, you know what happens? People don't buy more light bulbs. You want to buy more light bulbs. So you make it actually have a shelf life. You purposely destroy the product you create. It's a very good business tactic. And that's exactly what we see here with stuff like Once Upon a Line or stuff like most of the legacy games, Pandemic Legacy, stuff like that. Once you play it, it has destroyed itself and you just get to buy a new one whenever you have the inkling to play it again someday. And again, they could do it without. They purposely don't. The stickers, the tearing, the burning, the throwing away, the folding, all of that stuff is on purpose. Of course it's on purpose. It can give you a lot of enjoyment, and you can do that with anything. You would lose a game of Magic the Gathering, rip all your cards up. There you go. Now it's legacy. Now it's permanent, right? You could totally do that if you want, but to force it, to make it there as a decision, that's a business decision, not a gameplay decision. And again, you might like that, and that's totally fine. You can play board games however you wish. Sometimes you get a choice, sometimes you don't. But suffice it to say, the board game industry is so full, and not just Kickstarter. Because see, I see this a lot with Kickstarter, with GameFound, with crowdfunding, with, oh my gosh, they're all about the FOMO. So is retail. Retail fundamentally, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40,000. You tell me that's not FOMO. You tell me that's not manipulative marketing. You tell me that's not purpose business decisions that hurt the game and just to get more money. All of that's there. Or the big players like Asmodee, Fantasy Flight Games, all those kind of companies that you see do this all the time. It's why they do it. It's why there's 18 million versions of Monopoly. It's all of that. The entire board game industry for decades has driven off of these three things: FOMO, content, and the changing meta. The cult of the new is a real thing, and they've known this for a long, long time. It's why everybody points to booster packs all the way back from baseball cards, right? Because card games, that's what they live and breathe on, is your desire to randomly pull something by chance. It's the whole purpose of it. So, guys, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this. But I see this a lot where there seems to be a sensibility that retail is somehow different than crowdfunding. That crowdfunding is this kind of cesspool of this. When I think perhaps it's just made more apparent when there's more time involved and stuff like that. But considering my first experience was Descent 2nd Edition, where I fought little pieces of tokens because they didn't include the minis there. They decided to include the minis of the little tiny spiders. I knew pretty quickly what I was getting into. I came from the video game industry. I knew right away what I was seeing, and I saw it for what it was, and that's a cash grab. That's all it is. That's what drives this industry, for better or worse. That doesn't mean everybody's a bad actor. That doesn't mean everything's a bad deal, and doesn't mean those games are bad. But let's not kid ourselves, guys. That's how the industry runs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Of course, if you'd like to see more conversations like this around the board game industry, stay tuned. I have plenty more to come, so subscribe for that. Guys, thank you so much. Thanks to my patrons to make all of this possible. Without their help, I would not be able to spend the time and the money on these really, really freaking expensive games and hobbies. So thank you so much to them. As always, take care. Bye, guys.